Hey guys, Gaming Off the Grid here. You'll have to forgive us. We've had PS2 on the brain lately, you know, with it turning 20 and all. In today's episode, we want to talk about 5 games that would have to be on a PlayStation 2 Mini if they would happen to release one. What are we drinking today?
Today we're drinking the Abyss 2018 Reserve by Deschutes Brewing Company. It's an imperial stout brewed with blackstrap molasses and licorice, dry spiced with cherry bark and vanilla bean, aged 50% in bourbon, wine, and New Oregon oak barrels.
Holy hell. Wow. You know the drill. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring that bell icon so you never miss an upload. And sit back, relax, pour yourself a beer if you care to, and let's talk about the 5 games that would just have to be on a PlayStation 2 Mini.
Why are they called Gaming Off the Grid? Do they live in a bunker? I mean, they say gaming off the grid, but they upload videos, right? So they have internet? They do have internet. So do they live out in the country?
Alright, here we go, guys. We promised you a lot of PlayStation 2 related content this year because it's turning 20 in October, I believe, right?
Yes.
So we've been playing a ton of PS2. That's probably the primary console we've been playing in 2020, and going through this log of games, and we started talking about if they make a PlayStation 2 Mini, what games would have to be on there? We started rattling off tons of games back and forth, and we were like, you know what, let's just do 5. 5 staples that embody what the PlayStation 2 is all about more than any other titles.
Now, this was really hard because we picked console exclusive games, so that narrowed it down.
Yep.
Then we thought of a lot of games, and it was like, oh, you need extra things to play them. Guitar Hero, for example.
Yep.
You can't do that with a Mini.
Yep.
If you could, that'd be badass. But these are console exclusive, main, regular games you can play with a controller.
Yep.
I think we jump in.
Yeah.
What's number 5 in our list?
Yeah, so this game is a style which is weird for us because it's not one of our favorite styles. It's a sim racer, but I think it really embodies what the PlayStation 2 is all about, and maybe one of Sony's best exclusive franchises, and that's Gran Turismo 3. This game was a game changer. It was coming off the heels of Gran Turismo 2, which was just a fantastic sim racer, and honestly, this is where I kind of left off with the series. I really enjoy this game. I still think I have my saved file for it. I've got a bunch of stuff unlocked. But I just think this game embodies what the PS2 could do. This is a game that most people that had a PS2 owned, and I think it would have to be on a mini console, which should theoretically be like a greatest hits. And I think Gran Turismo 3 would have to be on there.
It's, as much as I don't want to admit it because I'm not a huge fan of sim racers, we like arcade racing, and I honestly don't really play sim racers. This game's great, and I think it does encapsulate the PS2 in that racing genre because the graphics and everything were so sweet. I've dabbled in this game, and it's awesome.
Yeah, and I think that's important to know on this list. This isn't our favorite 5 games.
No, these are just games we think would capture the PS2.
The era. Yeah, I think that's what we really are trying to do here. So moving right along, what do you got for the next one?
Oh my gosh, so this next one is a staple not only in the PS2, but in the entire Sony library. God of War. It's still a huge game on the PS4.
Yep.
God of War on the PS2. I think that has to be on the PS2 Mini. It just has to be.
For sure. And, you know, I like the second one as well. But I think when you're looking at just capturing the essence of the PS2, the first God of War, it was a game changer. It really was. The graphics were great. This is another game, much like Gran Turismo, that still plays just as good as you remember it. I've never felt that this game has been dated. It's very gory. The part that I loved about this game was that threshold that you would cross, I don't know, maybe like the hour and a half, 2 hour mark, where you're like, wait a minute, this isn't just a button mashing
it's
beat 'em up
different.
game.
It's different.
Yeah, there's more complex combos, things like that, and once you learn those, and the game, you get to a point in the game where button mashing might not quite get the job done.
Yeah, you gotta know the combos and stuff.
I think if you got a PS2 today at a garage sale and you just got these 2 games with it, I would say great freaking pickup.
You're doing great. Now let's move on to our number 3 pick, and continuing with the violence, Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Now this is hard because, you know, there's a couple Grand Theft Autos on the system, and if you're being technical, this isn't technically a console exclusive, but it initially was. This came out in October of 2002, and then a year later was available on the Xbox in 2003. So, for a year, I mean, it was on PC and stuff, but we're talking home console. For a year, this was exclusive, and I think this, for the PS2, is one of the best Grand Theft Auto games.
It is.
It's incredible.
And I also think, to your point, people remember it as a PS2.
Yeah, I don't remember playing GTA Vice City on the Xbox, you know?
I think it just, for whatever reason, I think it's just because of the early days, people think of it as a Sony game or being a part of the PlayStation library. Grand Theft Auto 3 was great, San Andreas was great, but I feel like the game that just captures that PS2 era so well is Vice City.
And
I think it
like
was...
everyone had it. You know?
For sure, and that's another good point. I think these 3 games are ones that were just staples in everyone's library. And, you know, when you look at these, if they put God of War 2 on there instead of God of War, or, you know, 3 or San Andreas on there, those we're splitting hairs at that point. But I think Vice City is definitely the way to go with the Grand Theft Auto series. We've talked a little bit about before why it means so much to me. The music, the way it just transports you to a different era and a different time. I didn't really feel that as much in any other Grand Theft Auto game. But I think that would be a great addition, and if they release a PlayStation 2 Mini and it doesn't have a Grand Theft Auto game on it, that's going to be a huge disappointment.
Yeah, I'm worried that if they do release a PS2 Mini, the PS1 Mini sucks. So, like, and the PS2 is one of my favorite consoles of all time. So if they do, please do it right.
They've got
We're giving you great suggestions.
They've got a lot to overcompensate for, so it could go one or two ways. It's either going to be shitty, or they're going to be like, dude, we got to get this right. And they're going to go all in on it. And I think they had enough console exclusives that they could do it pretty well. But there are some non-console exclusives that would be really important to get on there.
Oh, that would be. But we're not talking about that. Now let's move on to our 4th pick that has to be on the freaking PS2 Mini. This is a staple of Sony. Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, for sure.
What a great game.
Yeah, if you're into just 3D platformers, this game's beautiful. We just picked the first one again. I think it's just kind of, when you do these mini collections, I think it's important to at least have the first game of a series on them.
It's like a time capsule.
Yeah, and then as soon as I say that, you know, we have Vice City, but I think that's the better one of the 3. But all the Ratchet and Clank games are good. I think it's maybe Deadlock that is the one that's a little bit different than the rest of them. But anyways, short story long, Ratchet and Clank, Insomniac, great freaking game. If you're into those 3D platformers and the ones that preceded this generation, so if you're like a Banjo-Kazooie fan, Donkey Kong 64 fan, this is when 3D platformers like became a real thing in my head, where I was like, dude, I can actually control the game the way I want to.
You feel tight, yeah.
Yeah, great characters. I feel like Ratchet and Clank is a little overlooked. I don't know how you feel. Like,
yeah, same.
They've got that new remake that was out a few years ago on the PS4, but it's just not quite the household name that I think it deserves to be.
Well, I think back in the day it was, and then people kind of forgot about it. You know, it got taken over by God of War, Grand Theft Auto, all these other series they kept going. Dude, why don't they bring back Ratchet and Clank?
I think
that could be its own episode, but like, you know, Insomniac's doing other things. I get it, but it'd be awesome.
I think there's 6 to 7 releases between the PS2 and the PS3,
which is a lot.
That's just, I just think it's too much. No matter how good the games are, a lot of the mechanics from game to game in the Ratchet and Clank series didn't alter it very much, and I think they just kind of maybe burned people out a little bit. Yeah. So it was like, there was no urgency. If you get too much of anything, it's not like, oh, when do I get the next one? There's always a Ratchet and Clank game available, where sometimes you got to leave the consumer wanting, like, man, when the frick am I going to get the next Mario game? Or when am I going to get
when am I going to get freaking Last of Us 2?
Yeah.
It's coming.
Yeah.
I'm
so
ready.
I think that was a thing. They just kind of were beating a dead horse too fast, too hard, and all of a sudden people are kind of like, yeah, I've been there, done that.
Now we got one more game that I'm super excited to talk about, but let's talk about this beer because holy crap, The Abyss Deschutes 2018 Reserve. There's so much in this beer. What do you think?
First off, I want to say cheers to Joe Wallace, longtime
cheers.
friend and follower of the channel. He's the one that hooked us up with this offering. Deschutes Brewing Company, we've featured on the channel a couple different times, I believe. Great brewery. The Abyss. This is a 2018 variant. This is very good. It's a lot to wrap my head around. It's a very robust stout. Coffee isn't in the flavor notes, but there is something, I think it might be that dark molasses or something coming through that is very roasty. There's maybe that cherry bark or
something like
there's
that.
a roasty malty component. It really dominates the palate. As I'm kind of settling in my palate's adjusting, a lot of flavors start sparking. I'm getting some sweet notes, which initially I couldn't really taste because it was just kind of like an overload on the palate. I like this beer a lot. It's a beer that I would like to have, a couple different times to give it a full review. It's a really freaking good stout. I do know that, but the notes, it's such a robust beer. I'm having a hard time pulling them all out.
I know. There's so much going on in this beer. It's insane. It's really good. It's really enjoyable, but it's overwhelming. My taste buds are like, dude, what am I drinking? It's like so many good flavors, and they blend well, but they also have their own spotlight.
Yeah.
Like, it's like kind of intense,
Very
good.
intense, and that's a great word. It's a very intense stout.
It's an intense beer, and it's not like intense like bourbony aggressive. It's just intense in flavor.
Yeah, it's a flavor bomb, and it's really good. I like this beer. I would say this is definitely a top shelf imperial stout. As far as the notes, though, again, I'm getting that dark roasty molasses on the front. You know, cherry bark. I don't really know what that tastes like.
Probably like a tree.
Yeah, possibly. So I'm not getting that as much. There is a little bit of vanilla and sweetness coming through in there as well. It said like black licorice. I'm not pulling that, and I do like black licorice a lot.
Yeah, black licorice is good.
So anyways, really good stout. Joe, you always just hit home runs, man. Joe doesn't step into the box and swing for singles, folks. That dude is whacking at that ball, trying to hit it out of the park, and I think he did it again with the Abyss 2018 variant.
It's so good. This is going to be a beer I look for every year because I'm guessing they do it every year, like it's the tradition. So good.
We have seen this a little bit out and about, so if you're wanting to maybe grab this, it is fairly well distributed. It's a rare, fairly well distributed beer, if that makes any sense.
So it's not super hard to find.
So you might be able to get some
you
still.
might.
Yeah.
Now let's move on to the last game in our top 5 that we want to see on the PS2 Mini. And this might be one of our favorite survival horror series.
Yeah. And
the developer needs to bring the series back, or maybe, remake it. And that's Silent Hill 2.
Rumors
Wow.
are swirling around the Silent Hill franchise and Konami. But this isn't about that. This is about a potential PlayStation 2 Mini. If it didn't have this game on
it has to.
It would be a crime. Resident Evil, we're not taking any shots at it. We're huge fans of the franchise, but it is a little bit frustrating as a Silent Hill fan when Resident Evil gets all this love, and we're glad it does because we love the games.
The remakes are incredible.
But this little beauty here is one of the best survival horror games I've ever played.
Yeah, it's so
we
good.
both feel that way. It's a great game. I think it embodies really where I felt again that these games really start taking their stride on the PS2. I feel like the graphics were able to kind of do what your mind wanted them to do
in the first one.
In the first one, and then like those first Resident Evil games. At the time you didn't know, but looking back, I was kind of like, that was a little rough. And when you started getting into this PS2 era, Res 4 was on here. Silent Hill 2, impeccable game. I think it embodies what this bad boy could do. One of the greatest consoles of all time.
One of the best-selling consoles of all time.
I really hope it gets showcased with a mini variant. It would be awesome if Sony would do something like that prior to its birthday.
But that might be too soon.
I don't know. I'm just thinking prior to its birthday, drum up that Sony nostalgia right before the launch of the PlayStation 5. Ooh, does somebody want to hire me for a marketing team? Hello,
there's 2 of us. And also, I think this list is awesome because it covers your sim racings, your survival horrors, your platformers. Like, there's so many different styles of games here.
Yep.
And I think that's a great thing to capture the console.
Yeah.
What you put on a mini. You don't want to just put one of a certain genre. And these are huge games.
I think we did a really good job taking an objective approach here because neither one of our favorite games on the console are on this list.
There's so many games that are on the shelf that I was like, dude, I want to talk about these so bad.
But we went into it wanting to deliver 5 games to someone who maybe never played the PS2 that they really needed to play to showcase what the PS2 could do. Bring it on. This is going to be an awesome year. A lot of PS2 topics, conversations. It turns 20. It makes me feel old. It makes you start to feel kind of old, but you're still young.
I feel young.
But anyways, if you haven't dusted off the PS2 and hit the power button and fired that bad boy up lately, we recommend you do that. It's a fun year to celebrate the 20 years of the PlayStation 2. We always appreciate you tuning in, subscribing to the channel. Keep gaming, keep drinking. We'll see you next time, right here on Gaming Off the Grid. Yeah. Oh, fucking watch it pour. Fuck. Oh, yeah. Fuck, look at that head. Yeah. Yeah. This bar is 21 and up. How old are you? Old enough to know what death looks like. Okay, come on in. That's what happens every time I eat bark, dude. A, B, C, D, E, F, God. First comes love, then comes marriage, then comes a baby in the baby carriage. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, find out what it means to me. That might be the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life. Should we turn the TV off, or should we turn ourselves on?